Good afternoon. I think we're going to get started while you're eating so we can, people have a timetable and we want to get you out of here as soon as we can. And first off, I want to say thanks for coming. We appreciate that. We look forward to this every year to let you know what's happening around town and what we're looking forward to. And while we're eating here, I'll do some introductions. So if somebody got a mouthful of food. From our courts, okay, from our Bedford courts, Judge Dick Papa, Judge Michelle Paris, Tom Day, 30 courts, and his right-hand man, Brian Dowden. And we have a nice representation. Oh, that's kind of loud. Goes on and it goes off. It goes out real loud. Okay, thank you. Well, from our Bedford City Schools, we have our superintendent, Dr. Sandra Johnson. There's sorry about that. Maybe somebody tried to tell me something. From our school board, we have Angelique Carter, Sharon Macklin, Anthony Atkins, Danielle Turner Birch, Eva Boyington, and the school treasurer, Taylor Friedrich. Thank you for being here. I got a list, I don't want to miss anybody. We have Jumar Newell, Marketing and Communications Specialist. Dr. Carl Schneider, Executive Director of Operations. And from Garfield Heights, Mayor Matt Burke. He's a good friend of our city. Appreciate you being here. From Maple Heights, Annette Blackwell, excuse me, Annette Blackwell was unable to make it, but representing her is Anita Butler. Thank you for being here. And from Cleveland State, the Maxine Goodman Levine College of Public Affairs and Education. We've got Professor Dr. Thomas Hill, Professor Jim Kostelik. You'll hear more about those guys later. From Cuyahoga County Planning Commission, we have Alex. Thank you. You'll hear more about them also. And of course, I need to introduce the most important person here. Is my wife, Marilyn. Yeah, she's put up with me for 56 years. You didn't have to cheer that. Ward 1 and our Vice Mayor, Sandy Spinks. Ward 2, Steve Salvi. Ward 3, Vic Fluharty. Ward 4, Frank Smith. Jeff's not here. Oh, he got the map. Sorry, Jeff. Jeff Asbury, Ward 5. And Ward 6, Tony Longino. Great bunch of people we got here on council, and it's always a pleasure working with them. Mike will introduce the administration part when he gets up here. So we'll keep moving along and try to get this going and speed it up a little bit. I reflected on what we did last year, the kind of accomplishments we did, and we had a lot of really good things happen. And then I look forward to what we're doing this year, and I got really excited. We got a lot of really good stuff happening, and Mike will give you more detail on it in his portion. I was a council member back in 2007, and I was part of helping develop the city's master plan and being part of implementing many of the ideas we had over the years. And now, almost 20 years later, we're eager to get started again to create a blueprint for the next 5, 10, 20 years down the road to where our city can move forward. We're partnering with county planning to update the city's master plan. You're from Walnut Hills? Yes, well, thank you. It helps to have somebody on the planning from the county that knows our area too, a little more insight into what's going to happen. Well, we look forward to work. Well, you're already working on it and getting us going to get this master plan together. And combining that with the recent OACA studies and the comprehensive report of our friends at Cleveland State University at Studio 17, it invigorates us with all the opportunities that are coming along and things we can work on. And last year at this time we were still in litigation with University Hospitals over the closing of Bedford Hospital. It was really not a fun time. But it's all been resolved. We're putting all that work behind us and moving on to be able to develop that area into something newer, better, but most of all, what's best for the city of Bedford, where we're going to get the most bang for our buck. We didn't give up on trying to get a medical facility in there. That's always been one of our priorities. So we're working on that. We've got some ideas. Things are going to be happening. And we're still, like I said, still focused on the healthcare. And then from the expansion of the Commons, I don't know if you've driven down Willow Street by going to the post office and seeing all the work going on behind the historic train depot. It's looking really good. And I know I got up in there to look at it from the depot looking out. It just looks amazing. And I think it's going to be a great addition. They planted like 3,600 plants and bushes. It's just awesome. It's going to look good when it's all done, and hopefully it'll be done fairly soon. But from our Parks and Recreation Department, and again, thanks to Mike Callahan, the director, and Bob Plisky, and the rest of the crew, Sarah, that work down here every day. I want to thank them for setting up a nice table setting. This looks really nice. And I want to thank Brett and his crew down there at Cernas for giving us a nice food to eat on these nice days. Thank you, Brett. But between the recreation department and commitment of our service department, our city hall staff, and the strength of our safety forces, the city remains strong. We're going in the right direction. City council and with the administration have proven financial track record and are good stewards of the public's money. That's city council's main focus, keep an eye on the public good and the finances. And I'm proud to be part of the city moving forward and getting these things done. And I'm proud to be working for the citizens, for our residents, for the businesses in town. And I really look forward to a lot of exciting stuff that's coming down the road. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mike. See, I learned after all these years, keep mine short, give Mike the heavy talking. Michael Ballas, city manager.
A lot shorter. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, everyone, for coming this afternoon. Appreciate it. Just want to acknowledge real quickly before we get into all the specifics of today's presentation, mention and acknowledge our team. What we do day in and day out across every department cannot be done without that word we always use in Bedford, and that's team. And I just want to go ahead and acknowledge our department heads here. We have from our finance department, Jennifer Howland. Fire department, we have Chief Harding. Our Parks and Recreation department, Mike Callahan. Our building commissioner, Mike Greer. Our service director, Clint Beller. Our economic development director, Jennifer Kuzma. And our police chief, Mike Stass. I also want to point out our city engineer, Joe Chuni. Joe is here. Joe is with the chief people, as well as our law director, John Montello. It is an honor to get to be a part of this team, because when you have individuals that are professionals, that are committed, and you combine that with how much they care about our town, they do tremendous things. And again, it's an honor to work with them and all of our staff. I mean, that is a huge impact. And I was going through, and you don't realize also, we have a lot of Bedford graduates that work for us. We have a lot of Chanel graduates that work for us. We have a lot of residents that work for us, former residents, staff that have family here, and they truly care. And I believe that's what really sets us above and beyond. When we get into talking about our departments, especially our safety forces, about 12 to 18 months ago, I jokingly had a little bit of anxiety because we were losing through retirements, chiefs, assistant chiefs, and we were going to have a huge turnover. But what brought me and kept confidence was knowing the individuals that we have here. And I can't say enough, as we went through the process of selecting our new fire chief, Brian Harding absolutely rose to the top and became a no-brainer. And our fire department has been tremendous. We all know that. I truly believe Chief Harding, and I also want to acknowledge our new assistant chief, Tim Grody. They are taking that department. We are going to the next level. And you'll see some of the things that we'll talk about, especially when it comes down to training, which is vital when it comes to safety forces. And they've really built on that. So I just want to give a quick congratulations to much deserved promotions for these two gentlemen here today. You can see when it comes to our goals for service, and I'm not going to touch on every single bullet point because there's a lot of data here, a lot of information, but we will have this posted online. And our calls for service continue to go up. Most importantly, or I should say, what has been consistent is the request for the advanced rescue squad. And that accounts for over 85% of our calls later this year, and I'm confident that City Council will support it. We will be going and requesting funding for a new emergency squad. It seems like yesterday that we just bought a new squad, a new engine, but it's been 5 years almost, and we need to continuously make sure that our fleet is top of the line, and we will be moving forward with that request. On top of that, you can see some of the other responses, structure fires, that has been an increase in 24 as compared to 2023. Same with motor vehicle accidents, we've seen an increase in responses, and our special rescues. You can see some of those photos. You know, what is an asset in our town? The Metro Parks, the Bedford Reservation, Viaduct Park. It's also concerning. You have individuals that find themselves in a tough spot and have to rely on these professionals to safely get there and do what they do best. And unfortunately, it happens more than we would like, but again, training. And you can see all of the items that Chief Harding and Assistant Chief have been working to put into place all across the board. I think one of the most notable items here is, you can see in the first bullet point, since January of 2024, we have hired 8 new officers. That is almost a third of the department. We knew this was coming, and it's the same for the police. We have an influx of retirements, and it's bringing new officers on board. And one of the things I want to commend Chief Harding for is putting into place and working on an officer development program to train the future leaders of the Bedford Fire Department. You know, we understand what those standards are, and we want to maintain those standards, and we're going to be working towards that. We're also going to be working on training staff members to be part of the East Tech Technical Rescue Team, which is vital. That's vital because of the amount of park rescues that we find ourselves involved in. So training is a big piece of this. The second item is working on our equipment. We know, as I've mentioned, we'll be making a request for a new emergency squad. We do have a new ladder truck that is on order that is years away from arriving, but it is important to put in a plan for how are we going to address the squad? How are we going to address the engine? The next squad, you have to plan now for these items. And as we work through the 2026 budget preparation, we'll be requesting City Council to establish a line item for future capital improvements involving our fleet. I'd also like to just touch on some of the photos you have here. You know, our fire department has done an outstanding job getting involved with the schools, participating in our career day. You can see what was organized here by Chief Harding, Assistant Chief Grody, and members of our police department is an emergency scenario where staff were doing extractions of vehicles right in front of the students. Actually, it was, I believe, the seniors and juniors prior to prom. It's one thing to tell students, be smart, but when you see what these gentlemen and ladies do day in and day out, it really sends a message. And they did a tremendous job with that project last year. So kudos to these gentlemen. I think they're going to do an outstanding job. And we have a lot of new faces in the fire department, but we will absolutely not only keep that bar where it's at, our intention is to raise that bar. And one other item, we are fully staffed at 3 shifts of 9. We're going to maintain that staffing for the foreseeable future. As we get into the police department, I also went through a similar staff here. We had retirements. Deputy Chief Sutz was retiring a couple weeks ago. Chief Stemple retired last year. And working through the process, we had outstanding individuals that really were impressive. But right from the get-go, the gentleman that stood out on top was Lieutenant Mike Stats. And he was quickly promoted to the new chief, and he has hit the ground running. I will say that. He has implemented a few projects, policies. We've implemented safety measures, and they are making a difference. Hearing concerns that we get from the staff, from the public, but also being proactive. You'll hear me talk about that in a little bit. They've done a great job. And I also want to acknowledge Paul Kellerman. Paul was recently promoted to Deputy Chief of the Police Department following Rick Sutz's retirement. And I'm going to mention one item, and they brought it to my attention. I think I talked to Chief Stas late spring. And we all know, we turn the TV on, we've seen it for the last 3 years. Every city, no matter if they're affluent or not, church groups, everywhere, they want to have a community event, and it's ruined. It's ruined by knuckleheads. It's ruined by people that are going there for the wrong reason. And instead of being reactive, Chief Staff and his leadership team came to me and said, we want to get ahead of this. We want to put together a plan. We do not want that to occur in Bedford. And we're going to do our best to make sure that it doesn't. And while we can't guarantee anything, I will say that our two largest events, we implemented some policies for our Strawberry Festival, as well as the Rotary's Rib Burn-Off. And both of those events, there was not one single incident on the Bedford Commons. That doesn't happen by accident. That's planning. And that is having the commitment and the care of staff. So I want to thank Chief Stas and the entire department. I also want to mention, I'm going to go backwards real quickly because I did forget to acknowledge one other person, and I don't know where she's hiding. She's hiding over there, actually. Debbie Farina. I will say that Debbie, they always say, you know, the lady steers the person whichever way he's got to go, what he's got to do, what he's got to accomplish. Debbie does that for me. She keeps us all in line. She is sometimes the voice of reason for me too, so thank you. I didn't want to forget her there, so I appreciate it. Thank you, Debbie. Moving forward, you know, our police department, same thing as the fire department. You can see the number of hires we've had since 2024, 11. It's almost a third of our police department has retired, and we've worked to fill those positions. I know, I believe Dell was referenced, the mayor introduced Dell. I also want to thank Dell and thank every single member of the Civil Service Commission. Their involvement with the hiring and the creation of the certified lists and the testing for both of our safety forces, fire and police, is imperative. There's a process that we follow. I don't get involved in that. I stay out of that. They go through all of that. There's a checks and balances, and it works. And I think the product and the individuals, men and women, that we have in our safety forces is a result of that. So Del, thank you, and thank all the other members of the commission as well.
Thanks.
Our police department, we are fully staffed. We've just recently made some new hires, and those will be on the road by the end of 2025, early 2026. But you can see, same as the fire department, our call volume is increasing. We're almost 23,000 calls for service last year. It's going to be about the same this year, probably closer to 25,000 calls for service. They are jamming. And they do a tremendous job. You can see all the list of promotions that we've gone through. Two of the key pieces, and we'll talk about the one a little more in detail, is Chief Stask and his team worked to implement a traffic unit, dedicated traffic unit to focus on quality of life issues, the speeding, the running stop signs, parking issues, and it has made a significant impact. We've also, with the help and assistance from the Bedford City Schools, we have a drone unit in place. We have 2 certified operators for that drone unit. You can see some of these photos are from those individuals that were out utilizing the device. It is a tool that we use when we need to. And again, thank you to the Bedford City Schools for helping us with that. Training is a big piece. We talked about it in our fire department, same goes with police. It's imperative. I can't say that enough. All of our officers go through it, and I think at the top of that list is our de-escalation training. The more we do these trainings, you know, the less likely we'll find ourselves in situations that, you know, are unfortunate. And they do a great job of communicating, talking, being with the public, listening to their concerns. Listening is a big thing. But in the event where we have to act, they are fully trained and will do so professionally. I want to talk on a little bit of the calls. I've been working on this the last few years. I kind of just touch on some of the items that everybody seems to ask a lot of. And it came in 2022, call for service, and we had a very high influx of stolen vehicles. You could see how that has drastically dropped. The spike in this was a product, and this was all across Cuyahoga County. This was a product of auto theft rings. Our staff was very much involved. We have to credit some regional teams that got involved, and you could see the significant drop in those incidents. We were, I believe, at the peak almost 110 in 2022, and it has dropped below 40. So that is definitely an impact, and it's going in the right direction. Personally, I'm also a believer there has to be consequences, right? When there's no consequences, it's just going to keep happening. And luckily, and we're fortunate that we are seeing a drop in this data. You can also see burglary data. This has also dropped, although it did slightly uptick last year from 2023. I think if you really zoom out and look at where we were in 2010, where there were over 30 incidents of burglaries reported, and that is actually below 10 last year. Even though it went up slightly, that is a significant drop from 15 years ago. Again, those things don't happen by accident. But I will say, and I think we've all experienced it, right? The traffic, people think they want to speed everywhere and run lights. Well, it results in vehicle accidents. And we've seen a spike in this. You've seen the data that I shared recently in the fire department. That has gone up. And that's a concern. You know, we're aware of that. Some of those things, though, are not only educating and reminding people of the laws, but also putting into play the traffic unit that I referenced. So Chief Stask implemented this, and it went into, well, this isn't solely the traffic unit. That went into place this April. And since that traffic unit went into place, we've issued over 115 citations. That doesn't count stops. We are focused on the areas of concern, the speeding, the parking violations, the running stop signs. But I think if you look at this data here, this is even before that, and it can show what we've put a focus on from the police department. You know, arrests, traffic stops, and parking tickets in the fourth quarter of 2023 on the left compared to on the right. We had 183 more traffic stops in the fourth quarter of 2024 than we did the years before. We had 274 more parking violations than we issued from the year before. And that is, you know, we've heard some of those concerns at board meetings, at council meetings, and just talking with the public, and we've put an emphasis on those quality of life issues. Combining the traffic unit and focusing on certain areas in line, in tune with the installation of 6 speed tables that City Council authorized the purchase of last year, we're making an impact on some of those roadways. These streets weren't selected by accident. They were strategically picked by the police department. A lot of these streets are cut-through streets, long streets without a break in the middle. And we've installed those speed tables in those areas, and they're making a difference. I can honestly say I've heard very little complaints and a lot more, well, I want them on my street. No, I want them on my street. Well, we can't put one on every street, but they're proving to be worth it. Also like to just point out our SEAL narcotics unit. This is a unit, and we work with a number of neighboring cities. This is not just Bedford. We work with, for instance, the city of Garfield Heights, Maple Heights, and others. They continue to, they're getting after it. And you can see just by some of these photos what they've seized just last year. $980,000 in cash seized, vehicles, weapons. But I think what's most concerning is that the third bullet point, and that is the amount of heroin and fentanyl that they've seized. That is a 30% increase from 2023. I can tell you the 2023 number was over 50% more than 2022. I say this every year. I don't care what community you are. If there's a city or a leader in a city that says they don't have that issues in their town, they're lying to you. They're absolutely lying to you. This is a major issue. It equates to over 50% of the unit's workload, caseload, and there needs to, consequence. It's continuing to get after it and make sure those consequences are delivered to those offenders. Some of our initiatives going forward, we are working on switching over our radio to the new 800 radio system. That should take place by the end of this year. A lot of that was funded through grant dollars and being out, more visibility in the neighborhoods, and some other issues we'll be working towards. But as the mayor said, our safety forces are the best. I absolutely will say that. I will reiterate what he mentions. I see what they do day in and day out. And it's both proud, but it's an honor to actually work with them. And keep it up, both departments. Our Public Works Department, if there is a department that continues to do more with less, it is our Service Department. Our Service Director, Clint Beller and Sean Francis, they're busy, as is all of our guys are busy. You can see all of the things we do. This is beyond just the Service Department and maintaining roadways. We own and operate, which a lot of people forget about, our own public utility. We own and operate our own water department, our sewer, wastewater department, cemetery. There's a lot that goes into that. Maintaining 50 miles of roadway, all of the landscaping, downtown. And a quick shout out to Billy Dard, does a tremendous job in the downtown. Got a little bit of anxiety with the number of plants that we've planted on the new park, but I'm sure he'll do great. You can see some of our projects that we've completed, our road projects, Turney Road, Palmetto, West Glendale. We continue to do annual maintenance of our storm sewers, as well as working on a large-scale capital improvement plan for the wastewater plan. This has been talked about for upwards of 2 years now. We've submitted a plan to the Ohio EPA, and we're waiting for that plan to be accepted. And once it's accepted, and I'm confident it will be, we will talk about some large-scale improvements and other projects, and I'll touch on that a little bit later. But I also want to touch on our water department real quickly. Last winter was challenged. We had 13 breaks in the last quarter of 2024. We've had 30 water breaks since January. So the rule of thumb is, you always look at water loss. We buy water from Cleveland, and then we turn around and we sell it to customers. And a city as old as we are, with infrastructure as old as we are, you want that water loss, right? 70%, you want it to be less than 30. Okay, you want to be billing 70% of what you buy. You're going to have water loss. It's going to happen. Up until these breaks, our water department, we were operating so efficiently that we were billing out 93% of the water we were buying from Cleveland Water. And I had someone from Cleveland Water tell me that that's unheard of for a community our age. Again, that does not happen by accident. These gentlemen and Johnny Sokolowski, our superintendent, we've put together plans where we sound the system, we correct the leaks, and we tackle those issues ahead of time before they get worse. And those utilities operate efficiently and effectively. And you can see, in addition to the reserves that we built up in our enterprise fund is basically a water fund and sewer fund that we can use for those dedicated only for those utilities. We built up reserves of about $16 million. That includes both of those utilities, and that is going to allow for substantial projects coming forward, and it provides us capital when we issue debt for large-scale projects. So again, kudos to Clint and Sean for overseeing that. They're doing a great job in the public utility business. You can see a lot of the in-house repairs that we've done. That's another thing. We try as best we can not to outsource these improvements. And you can see we have a lot of talented individuals in our service department, and and they make repairs to save their city money. We've also brought in grant dollars to offset some of these projects, roadway projects, replanting of trees. All of our lighting in downtown Bedford is all converted over to LED through grant dollars. We're continuously pushing forward to make improvements that are necessary for the community. I think one of the other things, just touching on, you can see, and again, when you take a step back and look at infrastructure and what we've done over the last 3 to 5 years, it's significant. We've replaced major water lines down the artery in town, Broadway. We've resurfaced Broadway. We've done Union Street, water lines on Union Street. We've worked with ODOT to make sure that Northfield Road Bridge was finally addressed. That will be completed this year. The next bridge in town, Union Street, a little bit of a disaster now, I agree, but that's getting addressed. These are major investments in our community, and that doesn't happen. They didn't just say, well, let's go down to Bedford and do Union or Northfield. These guys have been on them. Our engineer has been on them we need to get these items addressed. And a lot of it's been done with little to no capital out of our own pocket, which also says a lot. So we're pushing forward on some of those. There's still room where we have to address and put pressure on both state and county government as far as its Northfield Road itself. We hope to get that resurfaced within the next 5 to 8 years, as well as Solon Road. Those are big ticket items, costly projects, but we're going to be looking at addressing them. Want to touch on Parks and Recreation Department, and as the mayor said, they have done, our director, Mike Callahan, our assistant director, Bob Plisky, but I want to acknowledge everyone. I mean, we have a department of 6. I mean, think about that, 6. Those of you, believe it or not, in 1997, I started down here. And to see where it's at today, it's outstanding. I mean, they've done a tremendous job. And I couldn't have never imagined how they've really turned this thing around and brought program. I mean, you could see the things that they do. And I'm going to touch on the staff. Sarah Gennady, huge part. Mary in our office, Dan Kramer, Nick Schaefer. Nick's been with the city for decades, just recently came down to the Parks and Recreation Department. A lot of these individuals went to Bedford High School from the neighborhood, and they care about this place. You know, Dan has single-handedly renovated, I think, the majority of this building. I mean, it's talent. And the programs that we're offering, they talk about something that really sent a message with me. It's mission-driven. It's mission-driven to provide not only for children, but adults, as well as seniors. And you can see the programs that we're offering. A lot of it funded through grants. And we have gained the attention of not only the county, but we've gained the attention of the state. And it has resulted in funding coming here for the public. You know, our senior program 5 years ago was like 190 people. We're at 600 plus. That's almost 100 a year numbers that we're adding. We've brought in hundreds of thousands of dollars in grants. I have to commend Mike and Sarah and Bob and everyone down here. We were just awarded another county grant that is going to fund over the next 2 years over $100,000 a year for continuing programming. We have programming for developmentally disabled programming through Cuyahoga County, programming that's going to be, or funding that's going to offset meals and transportation. It's just, it is really impactful. And a lot of hard work goes into that. We talk about all ages, our day camp, our sports leagues. We've done, and talk about improvements, gymnasium, kitchen, Dan actually just did that. Parking lot, roof replacements, a lot. This is truly a community center. And kudos to all of the staff that have been involved in really making it happen. want to touch on Councilman Fluharty was very much involved in bringing a partnership with Union Home Mortgage to Bedford. And the founder of Union Home Mortgage, Bill Cosgrove, let's bring baseball, let's bring an impactful program back to Bedford. We've hosted 2 years in a row a Guardians Camp. To participate in this camp costs $400 a person. I think Bill Cosgrove covered, was it $380, Mike? $380. So basically our residents, the children, $20 they can be involved in that. They've met Carlos Baerga, Cody Allen, those professionals that come out here. And it's a partnership we want to continue, and Vic, thanks for working to put that together, as well as all of our staff involved with that program. You know, our aquatics, and I want to give credit to where credit's due. I don't know where he's hiding. Bob, he's hiding in the corner over there. To run a municipal pool to the level that we've done, it takes a lot of work and a lot of dedication. And that guy over there really is dedicated, and he made it happen. You know, this is an asset that we have down there that is tremendous. After we've done renovations, we've been open in the peak of summer, all summer long, 7 days a week. We've provided open swim lessons to children. We brought back our swim team. We've hosted swim meets here to show off what Bedford has and what we're about. One of the biggest challenges is guards. And I don't want to jinx ourselves, but that's been a non-issue here for the last 3 years. And it's because of Mike and Bob and Sarah and everyone that's put in the work. We can train our own, we retain our own, and we make sure that it is the safest and most enjoyable public amenity that we can. And great job to all the staff for another outstanding summer. I will say that, and this is honest to God, last 2 years, all of the day camps, all of the children, all of the pool, there wasn't a single complaint that came up to Bedford City Hall about those programs. So great job, Mike, and that leadership there. I also want to touch on our parks. We're making a true effort, and I want to thank City Council for supporting it, to turn these parks over and update these parks. They've been long needed, and we started that this year. We were awarded a grant to completely renovate Taft Park, and we've replaced that playground apparatus. We're replacing swing apparatuses at Ellenwood, at Taft as well this fall. Next year, we're going to be doing the same to Greencroft Park, and then after and after. You know, we want our families, we want our grandparents to be proud of that top lot at the end of their street and take the children there. That's what they're for. They're much needed to get a facelift, and we're excited that we're going to be, that we started that, and we're going to continue to do that. Our building department, Mike Greer. Mike does a great job, and I also want to acknowledge Ryan McDaniel and our staff in the building department. Ryan just joined us. He's a full-time inspector. He's been with us for a little bit, recently got certifications, and we're happy to have him on board. We are doing a lot of inspections. You see the amount of contractors registered. You see the amount of construction value in permits that we've issued. $85 million in construction alone is taking place this year. That's significant. You know, that is on top of what we had in years past, and we hope to continue to build on that. One of the things that we talk about is, you know, maintaining the neighborhoods, addressing the issues when, you know, we can. And one of the areas, or one of the entities that I want to acknowledge, because they are a true partner, is the Cuyahoga County Land Bank. They have helped us in more ways than one. A few years back, they helped us redevelop Tinkers Creek Commerce Park. We're currently now working, Land Bank is constructing a new home at 65 Talbot. This is a 3-bedroom, 2.5-bath home, approximately 1,700 square feet. This was an abandoned property. We worked to tear that property down, and construction is underway for this new home. And we hope to do more of these projects at other vacant parcels that we have throughout town. The land bank is also working with us to tear down a building that has been vacant for decades. This was an old vet clinic at 97 Northfield Road. At the time the land bank and the city got involved, they owed $110,000 in back taxes. It was an LLC out of California, and we stepped in. We were working to address this, and it is now going out to bid to be demolished, to be a clean, redeveloped piece of parcel that the city will own, and we will look to liquidate that. So we're excited to get that area cleaned up, that parcel. Just touch on our finance department, and as the mayor mentioned, our finances, considering some of the hurdles that we've had to not jump, we barreled through those hurdles. We're doing a very good job, and I want to acknowledge Jennifer Holland again, our finance director, and I also want to acknowledge Jamie Twig, our new assistant finance director. Jamie came to us a few months ago and joined Bedford from Stowe, and she's doing a tremendous job. Jumped right in, and again, a huge piece of that team. You can see where we ended in 2024. We ended with over $4 million in our cash balances. This is on top of the $5.8 million that we still have in reserves. This is an increase from 2023. And again, that doesn't happen by accident. I'll be honest, I put a lot of pressure at times on team members with the budget, especially with the challenges from University Hospital, but we've worked through that. We have maintained our A1 and AA- bond rating, and that's going to come into play as I talk about a little bit later with debt service. But you can also see the awards that we've received. And I think the one that Jen pointed out to me the other day, we've had a clean audit for years. We consistently clean audit. Usually you can get a clean audit and you'll get comments, or recommendations that the auditors will provide to you. We have received a clean audit with 0 comments since 2017. That doesn't happen by accident. That is a lot of work from all of our staff and from the leadership of Jen and Jamie. Tremendous job. We've proven to be good stewards of the city's finances, of the public's finances, and we're going to continue to do that. We're not afraid to look at and make challenging changes if changes are needed, if they're cost savings, if they can provide more efficiency, we'll do that. We don't believe in big government. You just keep adding. We are a very lean operation, but we're in a position to be successful, and we'll continue to monitor these finances and make sure that we get another award and another clean audit. You can see we have 6 full-time staff members. We have an investment bond board. One of the items that I'll touch on is our regional income tax. We switched over to that in early 2023, and this is an example. We had our own tax department. I understood, some people didn't like to go to RETA. It has proven to be worth it. Our collections are up. You can see these numbers. While they don't seem like a lot, our collections in 2024 are higher than they were in 2022. Not by much, but 2022, we had an extra $1 million a year in that coming from university hospitals. That wasn't in there in 2024. So that is a significant increase, and that partnership with RETA is working. It's working. Just touch on, I know I talk about our bond rating and our capital projects that we've been discussing. You can see that we are going to start exploring, and we have asked every department head to put together a 5 and 10-year capital improvement plan. What do we need to address? We know we have some large-scale projects at the wastewater plant. We know we need to address all of our municipal parking lots and roadways. Our new ladder truck at the fire department, which these guys did an outstanding job securing a grant for $1 million. Unfortunately, it cost about 2.5, so we got to come up with the rest. But you build all of that in, and we'll be looking at issuing debt and borrowing for substantial projects. outside of our public utility, we have very little debt. And we're working to close some of that off before we go and we look to, again, continue to make improvements for the community. And we'll be sharing more of this as we get into the coming months. But the goal is sometime in 2026, 2027 to explore this, and those will be further discussions with City Council. Just want to get into economic development and touch on Jennifer Kuzma, our director. Jen wears two hats. She's also the executive director of the First Suburbs. Jen does an outstanding job. I have to remind myself sometimes that she's part-time for us. Because I throw all kinds of stuff at her. She'll shake her head, or but she does. And again, not beyond outstanding. She represents this community so well, and has established partnerships with the entities that matter in relationships that has benefited our community beyond though we can think of. Outside of the projects that she's worked and that we've worked as a team to do, you can see the jobs that we've created and the impact of that, and the tax dollars that come in annually for that job creation. When I talk about relationships, Jen has been very much involved in the relationships with HICMA representatives. For those of you that don't know, HICMA recently acquired Zelia, which is the former Benvenue in Bedford, and they're a publicly traded company, and they are really rolling out some significant plans. Just a few months ago, and they spoke to them, Jen spoke to them last week, about what their plans are for the US, and it's significant. They've made a commitment, and we can share that they're going to be investing $1 billion in the United States over the next 5 years. More importantly, this includes significant expansions to the Bedford manufacturing facility. Their plan is to transform that facility into a large, state-of-the-art manufacturing facility that'll bring new jobs and essential to the sterile injectable business. So, we thank them for that. They couldn't be here today, but we're here to continue to partner with them and to see that grow. It's very exciting. We expect some short-term demolitions to take place, but also new construction to take place as well. And what's even more exciting is it's jobs, it's more jobs, and that's going to be coming to our community. The Auto Mile continue to make improvements along Broadway and Rockside. We have the J Honda dealership. Our fire department and our building department recently met with them a few months back, and they hope to break ground in the fourth quarter of this year. And then we've also had discussions with other dealerships that are going to be looking at rebranding efforts. So they're continuously making improvements, which is great. One of the items that Jen has done a tremendous job on, and all of our departments have done, we always talk about, we're going to spend everyone else's money before we try to spend our own. And you can see the funds that have come into our city in the form of grant dollars. All the way from small grants, all the way to that last bullet point, which was a great surprise this summer, is Jen in those relationships with the state as well as the county. We were able to secure $2.49 million for the hospital site at 44 Blaine. And in order to get that funding, you had to get ranked by a county executive. And our team really worked hard. County executive has been a supporter of Bedford and our challenges with UH, and he ranked our project number 2, going down to the state of Ohio, and we secured those funds. So as we get into the hospital site, and I won't hash everything out, our goal from day one has been to gather as many assets, tools as we can to redevelop this space. And I want to thank council for supporting the administration's plan or approach when we went to them and said that we want to pin our shoulders back. We're not just saying, okay, thanks, we get it and closed. And we're gonna stare at an empty building for the next 10 years. That's not happening. And council supported that, and council was 100% behind it, and we didn't take that approach. And we know that it wasn't gonna reopen as a full-blown hospital. It's not gonna happen. It's not healthcare as it stands in 2025. But the next best thing is for us to control it. And we now control it. We own we own the entire space, all the buildings. I will say a large portion of that, the middle portion, it's hard to tell on this map, but it's the one area highlighted in blue, as well as the old original hospital. That will most likely get demolished later this year, early next year. And our goal is to have space that we can work to redevelop. Healthcare is definitely a priority, but it's a clean slate, and that's what we want. Not having to go into our pocket to tear this space down, combined with dollars in the monetary figure that UH provided in the settlement, which was about $2.1 million. We're gathering the tools and resources to try to make something happen here. And what's exciting is, as we look at, this isn't what Mike wants or what the mayor or council wants. We're looking at this as options. What does the public want? What can even happen there? And that led us to our friends at Cleveland State, Tom and Jim. Thank you for being here. Jen worked with them, and we were honored that they selected Bedford, right? So these gentlemen oversee a capstone project for graduate students. A lot of them in the professional scene now works for City of Cleveland. Some work for West Side Market. They're going to get their graduate degree in planning. And they selected Bedford and a Bedford area, historic downtown Bedford, as well as a hospital site, to work together a plan, recommendations, ideas of what this space can be transformed into. And just to put it into perspective, I think the year, correct me if I'm wrong, but it was either the year before Bedford's was analyzed or 2 years before, they did the lakefront project. I mean, that's what this group, they partnered with the City of Cleveland to provide those recommendations for the lakefront. And now they did something similar for the City of Bedford. And it really helps us lay out a blueprint of what can be done. There were ideas that they presented I never even thought of. And now having that in front of us, and I would recommend anyone, this is on our website, it's been out, a lot of good information there, take a look at it. Thank you, and thank you to all the students for the hard work that went into that. It was a lot. They had representatives from the state historic tax credit and representatives from those fields that provided insight on our historic area, but also how do we connect all this? Because this is an opportunity that we haven't had in a very, very long time. So as the mayor said, and we kind of continue that, and is working with county planning. We have not updated our master plan since 2008. And we're excited to roll that out and start working on that now. And we're going to be doing that over the next 18 months. And we're going to recommend feedback from the community. So be on the lookout for this. This is a survey that's actually getting released today. There'll be QR codes on social media as well as on our website. We're going to be putting together focus groups. We want to hear from the public. We've already given them some kind of ideas of ask the public what they feel about this or how do they feel about that. And this will help us, not only from the hospital site in downtown, but citywide, to put together a blueprint for the next 5 years and even beyond us, for the leaders to follow to make sure that we're continuously moving Bedford forward. This same goes into line with our NOACA study that we've completed. This is our TLCI project, livable communities, walkways, trails. I will say that we've already taken some action on the recommendations that came out of those public meetings. We have a $500,000 grant application pending with the state to connect downtown Bedford to the Viaduct Park with a pedestrian bike and hike trail. And you can kind of see in the Commons where that is at now. On the backside of Willis, it is a 10-foot wide trail, and our goal is to connect that all the way down Willis. So when it comes to development, I mean, it's really looking forward and using all these resources, all these studies, and our master plan, our friends from Cleveland State that provided information for us, as well as listening to the public as we work to redevelop these spaces and continue to develop the areas that are due. Touch on our commons, and Brett, I know you like this picture. It's been up for a couple of years. He was giving me a hard time last year. And I said, don't worry, there'll be shovels in the ground. This is a approximately 4.5-year project. We started talking about this in 2000. And we kind of used the term, you can't hit a home run if you don't swing. I do want to mention though, we simply picked up a file and dusted it off. I have to give credit to City Council and the administration from 2007 who first had this vision. You know, the Commons was donated to the city for the public. You know, it can't be built on, sold to a business. It's the public space. And that council almost 20 years ago kicked around the idea of expanding it. But financing it wasn't possible. And our team picked up that information and said, why not? Let's take a swing at this. And it is, going down there a week ago, it is going to be tremendous. You know, I would challenge all of us, look around and, you know, you look at all of our departments, look at the things that we've done, look at what we're doing downtown, show me others that are doing this. You know, they are hit a home run, all of the staff members that have been involved in this. And it's our goal to have a dedication in early October. We're waiting on a couple of apparatuses to arrive. There'll be a pavilion going in this space, swings going in this space, as well as obviously the fountains in the middle. So be on the lookout for that. We'll have information going out to the public, but very exciting. I think this is something that Bedford, our residents, our businesses, everyone should be really proud of. It is just an outstanding space. And lastly, I just want to acknowledge Mayor Kochi, as well as myself and others who've put together a working group, a committee, if you'd say. For those of you that don't know, next year is our country's 250th anniversary. And that is absolutely something to celebrate. And we are going to celebrate that. And we've been working. We've already have some really awesome things in store. So please stay tuned. If you're interested or have ideas, feel free to throw them our way. It isn't going to be just a one-day event. We have a number of things planned that we hope to roll out fourth quarter of this year and into January. But we're excited about it, and as all of us should be. I think as we just conclude, and I don't want to take up everyone's time, I know it's valuable, and I appreciate you being here. You know, there's no doubt that you have challenges, but I think as long as your good days outweigh your bad, you're doing pretty good. And we are definitely outweighing our bad. And that is a testament of our team. They do a great job. It's a testament to City Council and Mayor Kochi. We don't always agree. But I told them 12 years ago, I go, look, we are not going to agree on things. But over time, that's how you build trust. You're going to know I'm always shooting. I'm shooting straight with you, and we do the same. And there's a lot of really good things happening in our town. Our town's strong, and it's a town that we all should be very, very proud of. So, thank you.
You know, you forgot your assistant, and so did I. Where's Tracy? Oh, back here. Tracy Simon, there's our clerk of council. She's got to keep tabs on all 7 of us, plus work with the rest of the administration, so thank you. It's almost 12 years ago when I got elected mayor. Our city manager at the time, Hank Angelo, was getting ready to retire. So we were doing an extensive search for a new city manager. Then I looked around, I said, saw Mike, he was in our economic development department, and he said, are you ready to move to the corner office, which is the city manager's office? And he said, yeah, I think I'm ready. So with the blessing of city council, we hired him 12 years ago, and I think I was pretty smart, because this guy doing a great job. Where's Bob? You ready with the? He's got it. Oh, we'll do some questions and answers. Bob will have the microphone so everybody can hear the questions. And whoever wants to go first.
I can shout. Any response to the article? Do you have any response to the article that was in the Liberty News? I understand it cited you for some things, but didn't really give you a chance to speak to them. So
I can tell you that they've not cited me for anything. I've not delivered a quote, so I think he's citing something that he may be imagining.
And they took my shot at me too, but let's understand one thing. Blaming me and one of the school board people of ruining the city, and all these things. Number one, as a mayor and all four mayors that make up the district, we have no authority over the school system. We work well together, but we have no authority. And the guy that wrote the article knows that because he was a former board member. So, politics.
In full disclosure, I don't even know what he said, so if he did say something nice about my mom or my wife, then yeah, I'll stick, but I don't even know what was said.
Anyone else? He doesn't need one.
Okay.
Is the 250 celebration going throughout the whole year, or are you trying to do it in the summer months or something like that, or do you have anything?
It's gonna pretty much take most of the year. But like I say, you got ideas or anything, we're open to it. Sarah Connie down here from the rec department is just going full steam ahead on plans. I want to thank her for that. And so we'll have some exciting stuff to celebrate.
The splash pad, is it going to be open to the public, or is it only for Bedford residents? And will there be security there, or how is it going to be monitored? And is it the city or the rec department?
So the splash pad fountains, however you want to describe them, they won't run continuously. They'll be motion activated, so you can activate it when you want to be there. It'll be open to the public. I mean, we can't govern, like any park, you can't govern an open park and say, you can't be here if you're not a resident. I will say that there's a lot of technology that we are utilizing that has been provided through generous donation from the Bedford Auto Mile. They provided, I think, close to $50,000 a few years ago, and we are putting an expansive camera system, security camera system, not only in the new park, but also in the old park area to be able to monitor the historical society. There'll be cameras going up to monitor traffic flow along Broadway. We'll have signage posted as well. So it'll be like any other city asset that we have. We're not gonna have someone stationed there 24/7 to provide security, but obviously we'll see how things go.
I have one comment and one question. So my comment is I was very proud that Bedford honored those
soldiers, 2 of them, that ended up coming through our city. That was one of the proudest moments of being there on the street and honoring those veterans. So I thank Bedford and Jeff Asper for the one that kind of was a quickie. I was very glad that happened. It just made me proud to be a Bedfordite. My other question is anybody monitoring the Facebook page to find out all those keyboard warriors that have so much good information for us and what we need to do in our city? And I'm saying this quite sarcastically because I don't know if any of those people are here, and I don't care if they're here, but there's too much crap that's said, and that's public, you're allowed to say it, I get it, but I wondered if anybody ever monitored that to find out maybe somebody does have a good suggestion, but I don't think most of them do.
Part of this free speech. No, we're not gonna stomp on that. But I always tell people, when they hear this stuff, call me. I never get calls. I look, and I don't read that stuff. But somebody will send me stuff, and I'll look at it and go, why don't they just call me? This is the right answer. I'm real easy to get a hold of. And Mike, you can add to that, but check on it. Call it. Let's give it a straight answer.
We respond to those items associated or questions on our dedicated City of Bedford Facebook page and our social media outlets that are City of Bedford, not the community ones. As the mayor said, we'll answer any questions, call us. The one thing I'll say is, and it actually, I was surprised by it a little bit. This was a few years ago. We had a new business move into town, substantial payroll. They love it here. They actually moved from Beechwood and spent a lot of money on his facility. Great partners. And, he's got staff members, young staff members. They walk the town. They do, they're young, ride bikes. And I had a meeting with them off the cuff about something else, and 2 of them are like, we joined this page, and we actually got off it after 3 weeks because the negativity is terrible, and we've never seen that. And they said it's just unfortunate, and I said, well, it is. I think we like to operate in a different environment, and that's positivity. I'm not naive. We have challenges. We have hurdles. Sure, nothing's perfect. But I think we're doing a pretty darn good job on the things that we've talked about. And positivity breeds positivity. Just like negativity breeds negativity. We don't focus on the negative. We could hand someone $1 million and they're going to be mad it's not $1.4 million. And, unfortunately, that's that. I long time ago, and I'll give credit to him, Sheriff Reed, our former city manager, said, you start following that stuff, it's going to affect your judgment. And you're going to make judgments for a small portion of the public. So don't get caught up in that. And I never have. And we will respond to any questions. Call us, come in. Our office doors are always open. Call City Hall, we'll get that question. Ask us a question via email or the city's dedicated page. But I'm really not going to react, and we won't react to negativity. Will there never, there's challenges. I'm not, hospital closed. Yeah, that stunk. But how do you deal with that? Do you just say, woe is me, and I can't believe this, and our town's in it? No. You roll up your sleeves, as I said, you pin your shoulders back, and you move forward. And we've done a pretty good job as far as that goes. So that's kind of how we are as far as monitoring it.
And that's why we're glad you guys are here.
I won't stay long. We have the board here, and I think I can speak on behalf of all of us. We want to say thank you for your partnership with the school district. Through your presentation, you've spoke multiple times about how you've worked with our students and you've done trainings and things like that. So we want to continue to say thank you, and we can't wait to see where our partnership continues to grow. Thank you.
Okay, thank you all for coming. It's been very enlightening for us, and we look forward to this every year. Thanks again, and thanks to the rec department and Brett for providing us a meal. Thank you for coming.